Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Cap.
Yeah.
This is your host, Petey Steele.
And your co-host, Elena Torres. That really threw me off.
Yeah, I think
That
it
little
came
voice.
from mine because it popped up on the screen.
Oh, really? No, I said it. I mean, I saw a recording on mine too. That was weird. I guess that's a new Zoom feature. Okay. Anyway, welcome to Countercurrents. This is episode 110. And today's guest, what can I say about today's guest? Well, have you guys ever told a lot of people that you know someone that you think is really funny and you don't actually know them? Because I have, and I've done it for several years. And then I actually met this person. He reminded me that we actually first met like a month ago, but I've been telling everybody that we know each other for years. So please welcome the hilarious Chris Allen.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Elena? What's up, Petey? You know,
How are
Elena, good, man. Same with you, Elena. It's people like, Elena Torres. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of know her, but I had never met you. I just know you're infamous. You have a very iconic profile picture.
Oh, do I? Well, that was from a photo shoot in my telenovela days. But yeah, I mean, it's working. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, I want to know about that. I tend to take over shows and ask questions.
I was gonna say.
So you used to be a TV star, or you used?
Well, star is a strong word. I don't know if you knew this. I used to work in Mexico primarily. I used to do Mexican soap operas before I
didn't know
here.
that. No, I had no idea. Are you famous in Mexico?
No,
I was recognizable in Mexico.
I'm not recognizable anymore. I reached like the height of my fame. I would just get recognized a lot, kind of like someone that's on a big show but has a small part. You know, like, oh, you were in Gossip Girl or whatever.
Who would she be on Sopranos? What would you say?
She'd be like Benny Fazio or something. You don't get your butt until season 6 after you get your head knocked in.
Okay, she's Benny.
Right, someone like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Benny, this is your big scene. You get to you get to put Artie's hand in a vat of tomato sauce. Here you go, Benny.
Yeah, your stupid jokes.
Yeah. I actually did perform surgery. I did perform surgery on the biggest show I was ever on. So kind of like Sopranos-esque.
What show was that?
It was the biggest telenovela I did. The one that was the biggest hit was actually the first one I did, which was like the one that gave me a chance to keep working. It was called Teresa. It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, check it out.
Yeah, it was like a huge hit in Latin America. They're actually going to remake it now, but it was a big hit at the time. And so I had a really small part in that. I played a doctor, but at that point, that was like the first one that I did. Mm-hmm. Doctora Magda.
Now, can I ask this? With all the gender stuff, is that because I thought about this, is that affecting the Spanish language at all? Are people trying to get rid of the L in the laws, or it just is what it is? That's only some white people shit.
That's some white people shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of Latin people talk about it being white people shit because like that's just the way the language is structured. And it's like, look, we can't structure the whole language.
Sure.
Around
because you know how everything there, I don't know if you've ever taken a Spanish class.
Everything is gendered.
There, right. Everything is gendered. And so it's like, dude, we're not restructuring this whole thing. And a lot of Latin people, when you say Latinx, I've seen a lot of Mexican people get pissed off at that because it's like, you're not even respecting our language.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's so over woke that why don't you just be woke enough to learn Spanish?
Right. And you're not even
Latinx. Right.
Latinx. That's funny. I'm surprised nobody has made a meme of that yet. Like just some Mexican dude with like the Muslim hat on and shit. That'd be funny.
They're just big glasses, like Malcolm.
Yeah.
Malcolm Latinx. Yeah.
That's true. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, on the surgeon episode, was the surgery successful or not? Or was it like a malpractice episode?
No,
boy.
I think my surgery was successful because I played at that point. I started as a med student and then I became a surgeon, a heart surgeon, by the way. but yeah, it was successful. I mean, in the scene it was successful. I had a lot of trouble doing that scene because you had to say a lot of words, surgery words, like really
a
fast.
lot of medical terms.
Yeah, which was really hard. And the thing with telenovelas is that
they use actual dead bodies. I'm sorry, I had to say it.
The cartel.
Wish their production value was that high.
Break.
That they use a real body. Sorry,
it was so stinky. It was so stinky.
So you had to learn all these medical terms, and then.
Well, the thing is, you don't learn them. They write telenovelas as they go, right? Because they see what people say on Twitter and check audience reactions, and then they write depending on what people sort of want. So you have a little headphone in your ear, and there's a guy who like is saying all your lines and the guy that you're working with lines. So it's like you hear in your ear, it's like, I love you, why don't you love me? Because you're in love with my brother. Like that. You hear it like really fast and you have to repeat like with emotion.
Oh, wow.
And so when
is
you're
that
getting
standard? Is that like
standard?
Is that just telenovelas, or is that like a soap opera thing?
Only all Latin American soap operas do it. In the US, they don't. But
damn,
all Latin
that
American
is crazy. So it's just all just on the fly.
It's I mean, by the time I did my last one, I trained my memory to do it because I found that thing so confusing, and they let me. Like sometimes the show will let you go by memory if you can train yourself to learn that quick.
That is wild. So there's no table reads, no scripts, or you
nothing. No,
wow.
You literally you go in one day, you get hired to do a show, you go in one day and you get a makeover. So you go and they decide how you're gonna look. You like go to wardrobe and to hair and makeup, and they take a bunch of pictures and they're like, this is how you're gonna look, and then you get some scripts and you just show up.
Man.
And like you're filming. You show up, you do one rehearsal right before you film, and you go.
Wow.
So is the whole Hollywood, quote unquote, is that process the same in Mexico as well, where like you get an agent and a manager? Is it all the same type of shit?
No, it's starting to get more like that, but they work more on the old studio system. Now less, but when I was working there, you like signed an exclusive contract with a studio and you got a salary. Even if you're not working, you get a salary from a studio. And if you do a show, maybe they'll give you a little bit more. But they have you, and they also have you under exclusive contract. So like you can't work for anybody else.
Damn.
Wow.
If you're working for the one network.
What age
there's
did
managers.
you start?
I got my first show at 24.
Okay.
That's crazy. I had no idea you was a big Mexican TV star.
Big is a strong word.
No, I'm gonna keep saying
working.
it.
I was working.
I'm gonna keep saying it.
Fuerte.
Folks, we're here with the surgeon from Teresa.
Right.
Today's Petey and Chris's Mexican telenovela podcast. Donde está de now? I don't even know.
Yeah. And I tried to tell the comedy clubs when I started that I had a lot of TV credits, but when it's Univision, nobody cares.
Univision.
Yeah.
I got a lot of Sábado Gigante credits. That doesn't translate?
Yeah, I've been on Despierta America twice.
So,
wow.
Damn.
That's our morning show.
Do you think in the Southwest people would like that would be a big deal? Like if you're in Arizona and Texas, people will go, oh shit, I've seen her before.
Yeah, now it's been a long time, right? I haven't been on TV for 5 years, but anybody who like watches that stuff, they'd be like, oh yeah, they wouldn't like freak out and be like, but they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember you. That's what they'll say.
Wow.
That's cool. That's funny.
Or like I'll get people, like what happens to me now sometimes with Mexican people, they'll be like, do I know you from somewhere? It's like that. Like they think they know me from my real life.
Do you tell them?
Sometimes, but usually I'll be like, no, but sometimes, or they'll like stare at me like, I know her. Where do I know her from? Like that.
That's cool. Yeah. It's like I was on Teresa. They would go, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah. And you say that and they're like, right, you were the doctor, right? Like that.
That's cool, man.
That's
awesome.
My
level of fame. That's my level of fame. Like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. My sister ran into this guy. I can't think of his real name, unfortunately, but he played Mikey Palmisi on Sopranos.
Oh, Al Sapienza.
Yeah, Al Sapienza. She ran into him at a hotel in Toronto. But she said it was kind of sad because the show had ended. This was a few, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. The show was over, and she said he was kind of just standing in the lobby, and she could tell he wanted people to recognize him, and she did a double.
Oh.
Yeah, she did a double take, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's me." She was just like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So she took a
coming
picture
on
with
fame
him.
is hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was when she told me the story, I felt kind of bad because I was like, this guy, he kind of wants to be recognized. Yeah,
Right.
Al Sapienza. You're making me want to drink. It's like a burp. Now you got me drinking water.
Oh.
All I
Right? Or
can
like a
do-
burp or a yawn. It's important
Yeah.
to stay hydrated.
It is.
Yep.
All right.
Speaking of fame,
Yeah.
Chris, you've done some really big shows, at least since I've quote unquote known you.
I've done a couple cool things.
Yeah, and I think a cool thing about you is that you've managed to do it like not living in LA or New York.
I've been fortunate. Yeah, been fortunate. It's all networking.
Right.
Yeah, like the Schumer thing was pretty cool. Even that was like what 4 or 5 years ago, but getting to work with Schumer that one time was really cool. And honestly, that's what really helped me out a lot. Even though I'm obviously not famous, but working just that one show with her validated me as a comedian because I was also still active duty military. And like I would go back home and people knew I was in the military, but they also knew I was doing comedy, but they kind of saw it as like, oh, he's a military guy, but he's kind of bucking around doing this comedy thing. It's not real. But then I got to work with Mark. Things happen. I end up being at home the same time that Schumer was at the arena in Rochester. And, I was able to get to the show backstage, meet her. And literally at the last minute, she was like, "Hey, you want to go up and do 5?" I'm like, yeah, there's 10,000 people there in my hometown.
Damn.
I went up, had a good time. And after that, man, people took me seriously as a comedian, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How like a moment. And how did you feel? Like she's like, you want to go up and do it? I mean, you say yes, but how were you super nervous? Or like, or did you have a set ready to go? Did you have
I had a set ready, but just in case. Because I knew, I was like, you know what? This is it's a comedy show. I was like, I understand it's an arena, it's Schumer, it's a big deal. I was like, but at the end of the day, it's still just a microphone and a bunch of people around, and that's all it really is. It's just a big ass venue. That's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so I should be ready just in case. I was like, it is highly unlikely that she will ask me, but I will be ready. And I was, and it worked out, man. It did. I did well. And I can't say I killed or anything like that. It was 5 minutes, but it did really well. And I had never been on a stage that big, obviously. And it's just weird how quickly, when you're in front of that many people, how quickly things grow.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I came off stage. I'm basically crying as I come off stage because it's so unbelievable. I give her a hug. Mark is laughing at me and stuff. And, they're taking pictures and stuff. And I go backstage and I'm just like, I can't believe this. So me and Mark are just going back and forth. And a little while later, I get on my Facebook page and there's just like, I can't say tons, but there's more than normal, just people tagging me in photos. And I forget like, oh yeah, there's 10,000 people here in my hometown. So there were a bunch of people that I went to school with that were there. And they're like, oh my God, cool. I just saw Chris at the Amy Schumer show. I mean, there was like 10 or 15 people like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I didn't believe it,
Yeah.
People were hitting me up like, how come you didn't tell me? I was like, dude, I didn't know. I was like, I literally had 60 seconds lead time. She asked me if I wanted to go on. I said yes. She told me what to do, and she was like, "All right, go on up." And I went up there. I didn't have any time to think about it at all. But when she told me to, when I went up on stage was maybe 2 minutes.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I can't imagine that. That must have been crazy.
It was cool, but I was ready. It was very. I didn't even give myself any time to even freak out and think about it.
Right.
And I saw the light, and I don't know if that was a 2-minute light or I got a minute left, but I saw the light. I did my last joke. I brought the band up and I got out of there, and it went well. And Norman said they were surprised at how comfortable I was on stage. Like I wasn't nervous. I can't lie. I just owned the moment, to be honest.
And how many years were you into comedy at that point in time?
So I would say about 7 or 8.
Okay. Yeah.
I had just met Mark a couple of months ago. Well, I mean, months prior to that. I want to say that was Mother's Day weekend, and I met Mark in that February. He did a show here in Charlottesville, and we kind of kept in touch. And I saw that he was going to be there, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be home," and I really wasn't. So I basically drove all the way home because I thought we would just get to hang out. I didn't think I would actually get to go and hang out after the show or anything like that, or go backstage. So it all worked out. I went to the hotel afterwards. I went to a hotel room. You know, everybody was up there. They had all this barbecue. They were smoking weed. And I remember damn it, Deadpool had just came out. They were watching Deadpool, drinking. Yeah, it was just a bunch of people in the hotel suite and stuff. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty dope.
Yeah, you always gotta have something in your back pocket for when that moment comes, you know?
Yeah.
And I was nervous too, because I want to say like the week prior or maybe 2 weeks prior to that, I don't know if y'all remember, but Schumer got into a big like almost like a public
the
argument
Kurt Metzger thing.
No, this was just a regular fan that wanted to take a picture or video of her, and she said no. And the guy was like, "We made you. You have to take my picture." And she got into this argument with somebody on the street. And after that, she was like, "I'm not taking pictures with anybody else." Right. So I was like, well, she's definitely not going to let me come hang out now because this thing happened with this, this guy. But so I'm leaving the hotel room and I'm like, "Hey, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it." And I was like, I try to be funny. I go, "Oh, don't worry. I won't ask for a picture." And she goes, and I just turn around and walk away. I was just like, "Oh my God, that killed me, man." That killed me.
I'm sure you thought about that. You thought about that.
I thought about it for a couple of days, but what's funny is like the next day, Norman texted me about it. He was just like, "Schumer was just laughing at your face when she made fun of you about the picture thing." So she did it on purpose because she knew it would kind of freak me out. And she scared the shit out of me, but she thought it was funny. He thought it was funny. You know how it is when you around like really big name comics and they act like they're pissed and you're like, "My career is over." Like,
yeah.
They're gonna tell every agency, like, "Don't ever book this guy, don't sign him, don't book him at this club." She got me. She's a lot of people don't like her, man, but she's very nice and she is funny, man. I will say that. And I'm not just saying that because she gave me stage time, but she's very nice and she was very, very cool, man. So
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. I mean, I've never met her, but every comedian I know that has met her says nice things.
Yeah, she's cool. She was nice. I haven't really met too many people who weren't nice.
And you open for Mark Norman a lot, right?
Yeah, for, quite a bit. Yeah. Yep. I think hopefully that should be coming to an end soon now. I'm as much as I love working with the guy, I'm definitely ready to branch out on my own. That's basically what they help you do is build some momentum and help you get an audience. And then, once you can start headlining, it's kind of off on your own. But I told him, I was like, "Hey, don't forget about me then when you hit those theaters, man, because I think he's going to be in theaters here within the next year." Hey, man, Sam Morril, they should be in theaters here pretty soon, man.
Oh, Sam Morril just sold out
11 shows.
It was a bunch of shows at Arlington Draft House.
Yeah,
they kept adding and adding and adding.
But see, a guy like Sam and Mark, they're such joke guys that they would rather do the 11 shows. At least right now, as things start to reopen, because those guys they want reps. So I think once they feel like they got their reps in, they're gonna move to theaters. But right now, I think they're very, very happy to take the reps because, dude, I would love to have been on that weekend to get 11 shows in. Oh God, that would feel great. It would be a lot, but it would be a lot of reps, a lot of practice.
Yeah, but I feel like
fucking money.
Yeah, that's very
exactly.
true too. Yeah, for them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, I don't know. Probably it would be some money, but probably not enough.
You could make Rent for a month as a feature on that bill.
Oh yeah, definitely could.
That's true. That's true. Did you guys know that in the 80s, somebody told me recently that in the 80s, you could make, I think it was like over the equivalent of now, like over $100,000 a year just featuring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. There were people back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, they have been doing comedy for 2 years, making $700,000-$800,000 a year doing headlining. I would watch this thing about Andrew Dice Clay. He went to an open mic one time, and they asked him to come back to headline that weekend. Like, that's how crazy that was. Like, he did well on a mic, and they go, "Hey, do you want to come back and headline for the weekend?" And he said he went out and bought joke books, and he was basically doing stock jokes because he had 5 minutes.
Right.
And he made that whole routine that wasn't actually him because he was a Jew and everyone thought he was Italian.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah.
God bless. I love it. Was that the Dangerfield set or was that some other thing?
I think it was even something before. I think it was like some no-name thing, man. I don't even know if it was Dangerfield. Wow. It could have been something. It could be, but he was like, I went up there to the mic, I killed, and they asked me to come back to headline. I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. But he also had like one of, I think, the fastest trajectories of anybody in comedy. I feel like that's a perfect example, right? He just did this so quick, and then it was just like right back again.
Yeah, because I think he did Madison Square Garden. He might have been the first.
Yeah. Dice Rules.
Yeah.
Great special. But yeah, no, I could see why it didn't last because, I mean, one thing was a lot of the diehards thought it was like a really authentic act, and then it was not real enough in actuality. And Howard Stern said that was Dice's biggest mistake. But then the other thing was it was even for now especially, but for then it was too offensive to the point of like everybody else hated him. And I think comics got jealous because he surpassed them. And the only person that went to bat for him was Eddie Murphy, who said he was the best.
Isn't that crazy how people, it's funny how people like to almost lie about the past. Like, oh, people didn't get offended. People hated Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
They used to try to shut the dude down, man. And like you said, when you hear interviews with him, he talks about how he was basically like a social pariah.
Yeah.
You know, people didn't want to touch him. So it's just like this whole thing of like, oh, people nowadays, it's like, no, man, people have always been like this. It's just, always been sensitive about something. Like I thought about this the other day, as much as not to get into too much of the politics, but you hear a lot of people on the right complain about cancel culture. Remember back in 2002 when Bill O'Reilly got Ludacris's Pepsi deal taken away?
Pepsi, yeah.
They got his Pepsi deal taken away.
I didn't know about that.
Yes.
I grew up in Mexico. I don't know what happened.
They said that Pepsi, he basically got on his news show and lambasted Pepsi, saying it was a family company and how dare they have this guy who curses, who belittles women, who
denigrates women,
degrades women. How dare they let him represent a family company? And now look at them.
Wow,
it's so phony. It is so phony.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe cancel culture is a real thing, but I think the way that a lot of Republicans now are taking it to where it's like you shouldn't be canceled if you hold public office and you do something ridiculous is ludicrous. But like, Shane Gillis or, other guys that
entertainment
on this show, I think that's extreme because they're fucking comics, I feel there's too much of people saying that there's either too much cancel culture, there's no cancel culture to be spoken of, and I think both are lies.
Right. Yeah. You're right about that, man.
Yeah, I also think it's really sad with a lot of cancel culture how like establishments will suddenly put their hands up and be like, oh, we're so offended. Like I think Shane Gillis, I think that was a perfect example. Like he was on this podcast actually pretty soon before that happened, probably like 3 or 4 weeks before that all went down. And I hadn't met him before. And he came on the podcast. And after the podcast, I was like, that guy's funny. But like, and as soon as you turned on the recorder, I mean, he's just saying crazy shit. It's just the comic it's just who he is.
Yeah.
Right. It's just and then you turn it off and he's like the nicest guy. But I was like, don't tell me that SNL didn't know that when they hired him.
They did.
I met that guy one time for half an hour backstage. And like, that's just the kind of comic he is. And then they're suddenly like, oh, we didn't know he's not getting this job. It's like, you knew. They had him delete so much stuff. Like they knew exactly who they were hiring. So the fact that they didn't stick by their hire or say anything about it, just were like, just put their hands up and separated themselves from an up and coming comic. Yeah, I thought that was pretty sad.
Yeah, it's corporate pressure. And the thing is, I was just saying today, it's funny, because corporations are seen as people basically. right? You know, they can contribute to campaigns and all this type of shit. And that's the problem. I just think a long time ago, a lot of these conservative, that's what they wanted, because they wanted these advertisement dollars. They wanted to get paid. But now the landscape has changed. We don't have these these conservative, titans of industry, like it was 30, 40 years ago. It's shifted. Now everything is tech based. No one cares what Clorox thinks or what Cheerios thinks or Wheaties thinks. Now it's all about Facebook and all these, and those companies are ran by liberal people, and they give politicians and a bunch of big interest groups a shit ton of money. And guess what?
They do.
When you do something, or you have someone on your show that they don't like, and they're giving you $300 million, they're like, yo, we don't like this guy. Either get rid of him, or we're going to take out $300 million. What do you think is going to happen? Now, again, look at the example I gave you.
Yeah.
Pepsi caved in to Bill O'Reilly because at the time, it's 2002. You got all this stuff going on in Iraq. You got 9/11 happen, and people, don't want to upset these family companies. Conservatives are kind of like running shit, and
people are fearing Jesus again.
Exactly. But now the times have changed, and like these liberal guys are kind of the ones running shit. Now all of a sudden the right is like, oh, these companies are oppressive. We can't do and say anything. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. The same guys that are like, oh, LeBron James can't complain about racism. He's rich. I fuck with Joe Rogan. I fuck with a lot of comics. That doesn't mean that I agree with everything they say, but it's like, dude, stop crying saying you can't say shit. It's like, you just signed $100 million deal for your podcast.
Yeah.
Don't tell me white guys can't say shit, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's other guys that I don't. The only reason why I say Rogan because he's so up there. He's untouchable. Right. But other comics, I don't comment on other comics, what they do, really, just because that's just how I am. I might not agree with other comics, but everyone does their own thing. And I don't say this like I've been doing comedy for so long, like way longer than you guys. But I was talking to Umar Khan, another friend of ours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to tell him, I was like, dude, when I first started, there wasn't this clique of like, oh, these are the alt-right comics and these are woke comics. It was either you were either funny or you weren't funny.
Exactly.
All the funny comics hung out, no matter if you were like the raunchy guy, the clean guy, the urban guy. It's just like all the funny comics hung out together because they were the ones that were the funniest. They got booked, they helped each other out, and they might not have liked everyone's act, but no one really cared like, oh, I can't fuck with that guy because he does jokes about gay people, or he did a black joke, or he did a joke about like whatever it was at the time. I don't know. There was none of that.
No.
It was either.
I watched that shift too, and I remember thinking like, if this was sports, like they would never pick someone who was whack at like the Rucker or something for like a pickup game or someplace.
Yeah.
But why now? Like someone can do something a little fancier. They cross all the T's and dot the I's in terms of like whatever the woke thing is, the right thing to say. But to me, it's like if it's the right thing to say, totally, it's never really even that funny. Right. It can be, but generally, it should be a little bit off.
Right. That's what Chappelle. Yeah, Chappelle said that. I think it's the what is the bird Equimini? I can't remember the name of it. I'm bad at remembering the titles.
Yeah, I know
of shit.
The bird.
But he would Bird's Eye. Something like that.
No, it's like it's some kind of mystical bird name. I don't know.
Yeah, but in the beginning of that, he was just saying like, I say stuff because it's funny. Like I don't care if it's mean. I just say it because it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about I feel like a lot of comics. I mean, I started later than you guys, so I definitely came into like a cliquey comedy sort of scene everywhere, and I felt that there's a lot of, especially when you're new, like there's all this worry about being hacky. And it's like, if the audience is laughing, does it matter?
Right. Bird Revelation.
Yeah.
Bird Revelation.
Yeah. It's just this weird thing of like, why do we have to mean everything that we say on stage? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, it's just comedy. What I don't like is when people kind of, when people get, when we start to conflate different worlds, like take what was old girl's name from the Disney show. Oh, God, I'm so bad with names.
Miley.
The one she got. Well, I'm sorry. She got fired from Mandalorian.
Oh, Gina Carano.
Gina Carano. And they go, oh, Gina Carano said this or that. She got fired. That's not fair. What about Bill Burr? And I saw some other comics. I won't say his name. I saw a comic on Twitter like, oh, Gina Carano gets fired, but Bill Burr. And I'm like, see, this is what I don't like. Here's a guy who he's a white comic who feels like he can't say anything because he's straight and white and he doesn't have a group. And he's just like, how come Bill Burr can say shit, but Gina Carano? I'm like, dude, you're a comic. Gina Carano is not a fucking comedian.
Yeah.
So stop. That's one thing I hate about comics. Do not compare what actors, athletes, and politicians say, either on social media or on TV. It's not the same. They're not comedians. They're making statements. That's completely different. Bill Burr says stuff on his podcast and on stage. Don't compare the two, because now you're doing exactly what you say you hate that other people are doing. You're taking a non-comics comment and you're trying to bathe them in the light of a comic. It's like, they're not a comedian, dude. Stop it. Yeah. Don't do that. It's like, I understand she should have the right to free speech, but she's not a comedian. She's not a comic. And I'm not saying he can't defend her, but don't compare what she says as an actor to what a comic is saying on stage. It's not the same. I hate that.
Yeah, the bag is considerably smaller as a comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
unless,
dude,
unless
she's
you're
an
going to
actor.
be on SNL.
Right. She's an actor.
Seriously.
She made political statements. She said, she made statements about, whatever she did. That is not the same as Bill Burr's, gold digging horse bit. That's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the same. So don't compare the two. Don't act like she's a comedian and she's being, tossed aside for making a joke. No, she wasn't making jokes, man.
No.
And she was told several times to stop doing the shit. And that's what kills me about these motherfuckers too, because it's like they'll watch a police video and they go, oh, they told this guy 7 times to get out the car. That's why they tased him, or that's why they beat this guy. But for some reason, when it comes to these right-wing actors who want to make these weird political statements, and they are told several times by their employer to stop doing this, and then they're fired, and then they go, oh, that's not fair. You were told several times. Why can you understand that in the police video? Or, you try to justify that in the police video, but when it comes to some right-wing actor making dumb statements and they lose their job, you don't understand. But somehow you can understand somebody getting shot in the back over a traffic violation. I don't get it. Yeah. Just comply.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I go off on these fucking rants, man.
That's all right. That's why we brought you in.
Exactly.
And another thing.
We don't want to hear anybody that's hinged.
Oh, you want to hear unhinged?
That's true. Yeah. Unhinged makes for better listening.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
So speaking of having a career, you recently retired from the other thing, the military, right? And now it's comedy and you're ready to make the next leap to kind of touring headliner, no longer under the Normand wing, so to speak. So how does one get enough notoriety to kind of make that jump? Do you have an agent now or someone saying anything? No, not at all.
No agent, no manager. I've gotten to meet some, and my name has been floated out there for some stuff. Mark has been very good to me. Adrienne Appalucci, she's been great to me. She's always,
I love her.
Yeah, me too, man. She's been so helpful, man. Like when I met her, I was just in a rut, man. I felt so bad about my career, where it was going. I just felt so stagnant. And I worked with her at the DC Improv, and she was just like, you are really funny. She was like, I like you a lot. She's like, I really want to help you out, But so, she's floated my name out there to her manager and stuff like that. But I just, I don't live in New York, and if you're going to have a manager and agent, you just have to have the potential to make money. And that's why for me, I'm at this spot now, and I should have been doing this a long time ago. It's like she was just saying, like, have scripts and ideas and stuff written down, have stuff ready. I got my album coming out in August. I just found out that's going to be the final release date is in August. So, the album should help. Hopefully a lot of it gets on XM, it gets on satellite radio. That should help my followership to a degree. And also still going out with Mark and going up to New York, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
honestly, man, for me, I think it's actually being more pointed and just really being cognizant of what I want to do online. Like I have a podcast, but when I think about it, I'm so afraid to put myself out there. Like I really don't do a lot to promote myself. That's probably one of the hardest things I have to deal with is promoting myself. So it's actually like doing the podcast, taking the time out to maybe make a couple clips to have a preview for that, you know, making sure I'm engaging with people online, you know, just doing all that kind of stuff, having a website, you know, because I had all that stuff so early on. I had a website, I had a comedy page. And then as I really got into like just the grind of comedy, I'm like, why do I have this website? Like I'm emceeing, I'm not even featuring, like no one cares. I'm making these big posters for every weekend that I'm emceeing at the Dayton Funny Bone. But that's the kind of stuff you do as a new comic. You think you need all this stuff, the business cards, the Facebook page and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I need to worry about being a goddamn comic.
Yeah.
So I got rid of all that shit and just started focusing on being funnier. You know, and I finally got some merch that sells well, you know, so it's just small steps, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think self-promotion is one of the hardest parts. It's a really important part of this career. And I think it's one of the hardest parts because
it is.
To be funny, you have to, being funny requires a lot of focus.
Yeah.
And time. And like, it's not necessarily like a bit is something that you sit and you write during the day, like a script or anything like that. But your brain power, when it's focusing on writing jokes and being good at comedy, it's not necessarily on like, let me make sure I get the bit with the subtitles, you know, that I can cut for Instagram.
Right. Or like, you're doing your podcast and you go, oh, let me make sure this point is really succinct. That way it's under a minute and it won't be, you know, sent to IGTV or, you know, it's stuff like that. Yeah. Stuff like that. I don't think about. And like I just like I don't video record all my sets, you know, just making clips. It's just, dude, it just seems like there's just so much. Like it reminds me of that Hedberg bit where he goes like oh, I want to do comedy, and then people are like, oh, can you write a script? Write us a script. It's just like, I want to do comedy. It's just like no one goes to a chef like, oh, you're a chef, can you farm? Like no one does that. But now, dude, you have to not only be a comic, it's just like now you basically have to produce your own little 1 hour show with a podcast, and you got to have because if you notice, like all the top tier podcasts now, they're stepping up. At first it was just like, oh, now they're doing video, then they're doing captions. Now, like with Norman and those dudes, they're doing 3 camera shoots. They're zooming in, they're doing wide angles, they're pushing in on each other when they're talking. Is the cameras are going back and forth. It's just like you have to produce a TV show almost at this point. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they have a lot of producers. I mean, they get producers to work for them. I mean, I've spent a lot of time, you know, trying to make this podcast better and like watching a lot of podcasts and looking at like, okay, how do I do this? And a lot of them it's a lot of times like newer comics that are just like good at technical stuff, like full on working as a producer. They work the cameras, they work the audio, they work all that stuff so that the comics can just be funny. But you need a team.
That's what I have to tell Mark sometimes too. I'm like, dude, I don't have some young videographer who wants to follow me around and shoot shit with me. Like if I do something, I have to do all of it myself. Like people contact them and go, hey man, I saw you and Sam were doing this. And then like they want to do it all. All they do is show up, they do the thing, and then this person presents them the final product. It's like, I'm not in the position to do any of that shit. You know, I have to do, if I do it, I'm going to have to shoot everything myself, buy the software, learn how to do it, you know, and it's just going to take a long time. And for somebody like me, it's just like you put all these man hours into editing and all this kind of stuff, and then you post this video and it's like, cool, 123 views. It's like, I spent 7 hours putting together this 1 minute video, you know what I mean? Editing, putting a title screen and making After Effects. It's a lot. Because I had a buddy, man, he was producing basically like a late night, almost like a late night kind of a desk. It was kind of like I'm not really a late night show, but like a desktop kind of show where like he had a lot of these different video clips. He had desk pieces, all this kind of stuff. And he was just like, dude, I can't do this anymore. He's like, I spend so much time just producing this and then no one watches it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I get it, it's a lot.
It's a lot of work. Like I
it
remember
is.
one of the times I was most like struck by that, somebody who, I won't say who it is, but somebody opened that we all know opened for Andrew Schultz at DC Improv. And this is like, I feel like over the pandemic, especially, I feel like he's like really exploded. This is probably like a year before. He told me Andrew Schultz had like a whole team.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, he rolls with a whole team, and that's how he's able to do. I mean, what he's done is incredible, but he's got like a video guy, a guy who helps him set up cameras all over the whole club. It's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar. I know Petey probably is, but Carlos Miller, 85 South guys.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with them. Like when I was working the small room, when Carlos was in the main room, and you go in there, there's a camera guy, there's somebody with a laptop. I mean, like these guys, like what Schultz and them, he has people that are so good. By the time he comes off stage, there's already clips of what happened on stage out on the internet before he's even done.
That's insanity.
Captions, all that shit.
Wow.
Because I think that crowd work special happened at the DC Improv. He was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to release this as a special.
Yeah, it was that weekend, actually. But the person who opened for him told us about it. He said that they didn't even, he was like, yeah, I didn't get a tape because Schultz just took out the improv tapes and just put his own cameras.
That's what these guys are doing.
All over the room,
yeah.
Which is amazing. But I was like, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever listening to it. But also you're like, fuck, I can't do that.
Yeah, they keep nice, high res action shots of them on stage posted. There's constantly just clips from their podcast up. It's just clips. Yeah. High res photos. It's just, it looks professional. It looks and sounds great, and people are drawn to it. But it's just figuring out. Like for me, it's just like how can I do something kind of similar, but on a budget?
Right.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I talk about that. We just talked about this the other day about, because I'm just like, I gotta get some things moving. And she was like, well, you're gonna have to do a lot of things that you really don't want to do. And I'm like, yep. I didn't get into comedy to be a producer and a videographer and an editor. I was like, I don't want to do that stuff. I don't.
Yeah.
But if you don't, guess what?
Think of journalists, okay, who didn't want to learn how to use email and social media and shit like that. And it used to be the newspaper men of the old days wouldn't even go to journalism school. They were some of the best in the business then because that would fly. They had instincts, so they could go find that hot story and go out and write a wild thing and a nuanced thing. Now they're like, these companies are like, you must have a J school degree. You must be taught to think, homogeneously with everybody else. And here's this big complex issue. You have 2 hours to put this into some kind of fucking blog. And there's no way anybody 24 does that well. You know what I mean? But
without being,
there's so much clickbait. You have to have it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to be over the top.
Is irrelevant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to be over the top. Even when you post clips of your comedy, you have to say something outrageous. You just can't say, hey, this is a funny bit. It's just like fat white woman gets destroyed by black comedian on stage for being, you got to have all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And I don't know if this has happened to you guys, but I'll like, whenever I post comedy clips, right, I'll like spend, like you said, like 7 hours being like, okay, I got a tape that's okay. I'm going to like cut it back. I did the subtitles, and then you upload it and you notice something's wrong. Like the way it cuts off on Instagram, it like cuts off at your forehead. And then I have to like upload it like 7 times trying to fix it.
Yeah, I've done that. And again, 119 views. You go, why did I waste half my day producing this thing? But it's all about consistency. That's what I always have to tell people, man. It's just like, I know it sucks, but we do have to do it, man. I hate it.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's like, I tell people like, because a lot of people think getting famous on the internet is easy, you know, or going viral. They think it's easy.
No way.
I go, dude, you have to go back to that person's YouTube page or go back to their Instagram page and scroll all the way down, and you'll see that like 100 views, 1,000 views. You know what I mean? Then one video gets 25,000, and then, you know, they might think like, okay, this is it. And the next 10 videos, 500 views, 300 views. You just gotta stick it out. And Bill Burr talks about that too, man, because people go, how'd you make it? He goes, I just stuck it out. He was like, there were way funnier people than me. They just quit. He's like, I just kept doing it.
Yeah. Scott Seiss is an instructive example in that. I mean, you've seen all his shit going viral now. He has 250,000 followers, and he follows 600 some people, and one of them's me. And I'm like, that's because I know him from back in the day. That's it. But then you go through like all those things where he's the IKEA man bitching about customers or whatever that go millions, and LeBron James is retweeting them or whatever. And then the first two, before any of those, maybe the first one now has like 100,000 views, but everyone after that, it's like 110 or something. You know, you're exactly right. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when that wave hits, you think, oh, like this is it, you know, and it goes away so quick. So like with the Schumer thing, man, like I do the show with Schumer, I go back to work, and I'm at lunch Monday, just chilling, and I go grab my phone, and Norman's blowing my phone up. He's like, I need your number, man. He's like, I need your email. Schumer's asking for your email. I'm like, oh shit. So I send the email, and then have you guys ever heard of Mike Berkowitz?
Yeah.
Well, he's like one of the biggest comedy agents on the planet, if not the biggest one. Like, he emailed me. I got an email from Mike Berkowitz like, hey, my client Amy Schumer said you were great. I watched your stuff. I think you're strong. Let's have a talk. And I'm like, holy shit, here we go. So I had a phone call with Mike Berkowitz. I was on the phone with like 4 other agents, TV agents, all these people. I got another call from a dude that she knew who was out at like CAA or some other company out west. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is about to happen. But I had 2 years left in the military and nothing happened from it. But at the time, I'm thinking like, this is it, man. I'm about to get an agent, a manager. Like, this is about to get crazy. And it all died.
Why do you think it died?
That's just the nature of the business, man.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, you think you're going to get something and it goes away. Like, I can say it now because it didn't happen, but I did before the pandemic. I came so close to going on tour with Bert Kreischer. So close. Norman recommended me, but he also told him that I didn't drink anymore, and I think that took me out of the running for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, one thing, and this I have experience with, like one thing that a lot of people don't realize is like you can get the thing, like you can get something that you're like, this is it. Like I'm getting this job, like this is it, and then nothing happens. Yeah. I've seen that happen to a lot of actor friends of mine, that they'll get on some huge project. You're like, oh my God, you know, they've starred. I have friends who have like starred in Disney shows. I have friends who have starred in Netflix shows, like things that you're like, oh, well, that's it.
Yep.
You know, that's it. They're going to be it's over. And then nothing happens.
Nothing.
Now they're standing in a hotel lobby waiting for me to recognize
100%. 100%.
Next thing you know, you're Al Sapienza.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just it's a wild business, man. I'm really learning to like not to say a whole lot until you know for sure, man. It's just I've learned.
I got that advice in an acting class, and that's some of the best advice I ever got. That you do not tell anybody what you're auditioning for or the phone calls you get until you're on the set. Don't tell anybody.
Because it goes away.
Because it's like if you miscarry a baby, like the more people you tell, the more people you have to tell that it didn't work out.
Right.
Totally.
Or they like, what happened to the thing that you, oh man, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time when you get so close to getting that thing. Another story reminds me of Kevin Hart. He said he was, I don't know if you guys heard this story, but he was literally about to go out and do the presser with the entire cast of this new show that he was going to do. This is some years back. Literally, he said his hands on the door. On the other side of that door is the press. They're going to go out and announce this show. Someone from the network walks in and goes, show's off. Not happening. Literally, he came that close. Literally a door. Open the door, walk out. We got a show. I'm on it. They're on it. Just like that. Seconds from announcing the show to like, nah, we're not doing it. It's gone. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's what's crazy about this business.
Don't realize about Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart has been through so much. Like Kevin Hart and like Tiffany Haddish too. Like those are both two people that were working and trying for so long.
Chappelle. I'll just listen to his Rogan episode. He said his production company is called Pilot Boy because he did so many fucking pilots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I listened to the Sopranos podcast, and they have a lot of the actors on there, and just listening to how many pilots a lot of these people have done, like the guy who played Jackie Aprile, he was on
Jason Serbone. Yeah.
Yes, him. He was in so many pilots. He said he's done about 30 or 40 pilots.
Yeah.
Same.
I believe it.
Or like when you audition for something like 7 times and don't get it. That's happened to me a couple times before.
They talk about that too.
So far in the audition process where I was like, I got it. I'm gonna get, like, they wouldn't ask me to do it, and it's between you and somebody else, and they go with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's happened to me so many times. It was happened to me a lot actually right before I moved here in Mexico, because I hit that point where I was like not famous yet, but everybody knew me, so I was like auditioning a lot, and I was just losing to more famous people.
I mean, one of the most glorious nights of my whole almost 9 years in comedy was February 2020, right when the pandemic was going to break out. I get the call from Ari Manis to be like, hey, if you're free tomorrow night, MGM, Theo Vaughn, we need a host.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I put it online, and then boom, late that night, Ari hits me up and he's like, yeah, sorry, man. I forgot that, Theo forgot to tell me he's bringing a host. I'm really sorry, man. This sucks. I have to take everything off social media. And I hit him back and I'm like, well, I mean, what about a guest spot? Maybe. And then I figure it's totally, and this was so funny in a way, because before I had this gig, I was supposed to like headline at Summers that night, and I'm like thinking, whatever, I do it a million times. Nice place, I'll make $50.
Oh yeah.
But I canceled. I canceled it. I was just like, yeah, no fucking way. I'm going Theo Vaughn. They understand that. And then I get the call and I leave. I'm like all dejected. Then I show up at Summers after the show, and they're like, well, hey, you can still go tomorrow night because we have another show here at Summers tomorrow night. So I'm like, oh yeah, cool, whatever, make lemonade. Next day, 3 p.m., Ari hits me back and he's like, you're on for the guest set. So I call up Summers again and be like, I know you guys think you saved somebody, but I'm a piece of shit, so I'm going back. Theo Vaughn.
Yeah.
And rolled in, and 3,000 people, 8 fucking minutes. It was glorious. I mean, everything you said in a way about the thing with
it's so much fun.
People. Yeah. You just bask in it. It's glorious. Yeah. But I definitely could see how a bomb, if I'd done that in there, would have been most painful. Like, holy.
Oh, yeah. You're done. Yeah.
You don't see anybody out there, but maybe the first row, and it's all black out there. It's like fucking like you're in deep space or something, and you're just waiting for thunder claps of laughter or whatever.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Getting those kind of gigs is so scary, man. Especially when like because you're just like, they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it. You just know like they're gonna take it away, man. Yeah. Like I don't know if I'm the only comic. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only comic that does this. Like, say like I do get to work with somebody that has a big name, and whenever I talk about it, like if on social media, I never tag them on social media, because there's a part of me that's just like, if they see it, they go, let me see this fucking dude, and they look at it and go, I don't like him.
Yeah,
that happened to me.
Get him off the show. Yeah,
that straight up happened to me. I asked to open for Nick DiPaolo maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and because I loved him on Tough Crowd and stuff, and Andy Randolph approved it, whatever, and that was gonna be my first hosting weekend at Arlington, and I was like jazzed up for it and everything. And then I put it online again, Twitter and Facebook. And then maybe like 2 days later, Nick calls Andy and he's like, yeah, or sends him an email. He's like, is this that rapper guy? Because I have battle rap stuff that I used to do online, you know? And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to make it a 2-man show. I don't want that guy or whatever. And Andy just, nice as he is, just told me like, oh yeah, he's just going with a 2-man show. Like it's nothing personal.
Yeah. I can see the Apollo doing that.
You know, and then down the road, you know, Andy was like, actually, that's kind of what went down. And I was like, ain't no thing. But yeah, had I not tagged him and been like, I'm opening for Nick DiPaolo or whatever, probably I may have kept the gig. Who knows?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just even with the club, like you just get so scared because, oh yeah, you can open for this person. And then like I remember years ago, man, Ari wasn't that famous, but I knew who he was. I was like, oh man, this is Ari Shaffir is going to be in Dayton. And they called me from the club. They go, hey man, you want to feature for Ari? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to feature for Ari. You know, this is probably like, what year is this? It's probably like 2014 or something like that, 2015. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do it, man. And dude, I'm on my way to the club in my car. He calls me, the booker, and goes, hey man, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to feature. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to open. He's like, but you can still come hang out. And I'm like, yay. It was one of those booker / comic / comedy club owner deals.
Yeah.
Where like, he's the booker, he's the owner, and he's a comic. So yeah, dude, I got dressed. I was excited. Like you said, put it online. And on my way there, a 10-minute drive. Hey man, I'm gonna do it myself. Go to the show. He has a mediocre set, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. But yeah, it's like you just the lessons you learn, man.
Yeah.
I've done the thing too where you show up to the club and like I have nothing against Jason. He used to run the Richmond Funny Bone, but there were plenty of one-nighters. I would show up on a Thursday or a Sunday. I go, hey, what's up, man? He go, what are you doing here? I go, you texted me about this show. He goes, oh shit, man, I double booked, man. My bad, man. What about it? I'm like, I drove an hour to get here, man.
Yeah.
Do a guest spot.
A couple times.
Fuck yeah, shit like that.
Yeah, show up to an
That's
empty
the worst,
place.
man. Huh?
Yeah, when you show up to the empty place and you're like,
Yeah.
But
But that's the business, man. You know, just getting stuff and then having it taken away. It's it really sucks, man.
Yeah,
it really sucks.
It gets easier. I mean, I felt like, I don't know, with that whole, when I was going through all that audition stuff, like eventually I just didn't get emotionally attached to anything.
Yeah, like those kind of gigs I wouldn't care about. Like, but when I got to open for Hannibal, I was just like, I just want this to go smoothly. I don't want to get it. And as you get closer to the show, you go, man, I think it's gonna get snatched, man. And you want to get to the gig even earlier because you feel like if I get in the place, they can't tell me no.
Yeah,
but they can.
Smart idea. I always get worried about being there too early because I'm like, man, if I'm too early, that gives them too much time, and maybe I'll say the wrong thing.
That's true.
And I'll get fired. So I don't want to get there too early because I'm always ready to go really early. But I'm like, I'm not gonna get there too early. I'll do like a nice in between so nobody judges that I'm there just early enough. Right.
So you don't look like a super new, overly anxious comic, but you also don't want to fucking. You don't want Hannibal or whoever else to show up before you and you come just strolling in.
Yeah.
You know, like you own the place. It's like it's a weird thing. It's kind of like with the military, man, where you gotta kiss the ring a little bit. You know, you gotta act even for me, man, working at clubs, it's like you have to act a little overly happy to be there and appreciative. Yeah. Even though at this point it's like it's work, but hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Gotta let people know that you appreciate being there. You know, you gotta bow a little bit, you know?
Yeah. But the other cool thing I think with that is, and tell me if you guys feel the same, is like I feel like opening for a lot of people, you learn a little bit what kind of headliner you want to be.
Oh, like, yeah.
I would say 80% of people that I've opened for, when you're the opener, you kind of also have to play to their ego a little bit and be like, no, that joke went great. I thought it was funny. And you kind of have to and be like, oh no, yeah, which joke? Oh, I see what you're talking about. No, it's the audience. Like,
yeah,
the crowd was weird. And then there's like 20% of headliners that
I've noticed they'll just let that roll off, and like they'll finish their set and then they'll write down like, okay, this went good, and you don't need to be like, no, you were great. You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Pete.
I just give them a general seal of approval unless I'm sure they're really asking me an earnest question, like if we've hit it off. Generally, they don't even ask me, like, hey, do you think that went well or whatever. Sometimes there's certain ones that I've worked with who I have like relationships with. I can tell they're doing it to kind of like size up my comic IQ. Like they might know if something they said went wrong or right or whatever, or to see kind of where I'm at with it and what I'm going to say. So it's totally by ear for me.
Right.
I read the person first.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because it's that hierarchy thing of like, because in certain like for me, there are some cases where the person headlining, they've been doing comedy less than I have, or just as much, or just as long. Mm-hmm. But I'm also either emceeing or featuring, and there's like that aspect of it, and it's just like they don't want to hear, especially the MC, say like their joke didn't do well, because they're like who the fuck are you to say that my joke didn't do well, Right. So a lot of times, I don't say anything. I don't say anything. What I learned early on is like, don't expect anything from the headliner, because like when you're super new, when you're really new, and you want them to watch you so bad. Because I remember I had a buddy of mine in Toledo. Like Tommy Johnigan is a cool dude, but he's a pro, man. So and Tommy Johnigan, he is not going to lie to you. Right. He is very nice, but he is very blunt. And this one kid was like, "Hey man, can you come watch my set?" And he got pissed because Johnigan was like, "What do you want me to see? Like, do you want me to see something in particular? Like, what do you want me to tell you, buddy?" And that's what a lot of guys got to understand. It's like, you're not going to impress these guys. They either live in LA or New York, and they hang around the best comics in the world. They'll get around to seeing you. Like if you're working Thursday to Sunday, they'll pop in. Yeah. Just leave them alone. They'll see you. And if they bring the feature, a lot of times the feature will go out and watch because he's waiting to go on or she's waiting to go on. And they'll go, "Oh man, hey, the MC got some jokes." And then the feature goes up and they'll go, "Hey man, I heard you got some good jokes, man." I tell comics, just be patient, be funny, because if laughs are coming out of that room, if they're a real comic, they're gonna go, "Oh shit, what was that? What was that bit?"
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Norman. I happened to have a great set, and he was like, "Man, this guy's good. He should move to New York." And I didn't know Norman. I knew nothing about him. And then when he went on stage, all my friends that were on the show, they were like, "Dude, he likes his stuff," and we just hit it off. And it kind of took off from there. But even working with him was a process. But I'm at the point now with Norman where like if he does a bit, I can go, "Oh man, that was they hated that shit," and I don't feel like he's gonna like kick me off the shows. Sure. Even with him, he'll go, "Dude, that was that bit you did, and don't do that one again. That one fucking ate it." So that's valuable, man. When you have someone who's above you, who you can truly be honest with and get they can really be honest and go, "Hey, that joke sucks," or "I think I heard that," or even better, when you're a headliner and you can have an opener where you trust, where you can go, "Hey man, you're better than that joke," or like, "Come on, man, like that ain't you, man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I really like about Mark, man, is we push each other, and we're very honest with each other. When it comes to our comedy and how our sets went, we talk a lot of comedy, mm-hmm. a lot. He's a fun, silly dude, but we have a lot of very serious conversations about comedy, man. Yeah, he really helped me out a lot. Like I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. So, where can people see you? You got some stuff coming up now that the world's cured.
Yeah, man. I'll be at the Arlington. I'll be at the Virginia Beach Funny Bone next weekend with Norman. And then in June, I got a bunch of stuff all over the state of Virginia. I got stuff in Colonial Heights. I'll be in Northern Virginia. I'm doing something in Lorton. Just a bunch of stuff around town. Hopefully our venues in Charlottesville open back up. I want to get my weekly mic back. here in Charlottesville. But people can find me on Instagram and Twitter and social media at Chris Allen Comedy, ALAN at Chris Allen Comedy. And please be on the lookout for my album that's going to be coming out with Helium Records August 6th. Super excited. Hopefully it'll get on to XM radio and all that kind of stuff. But I have a podcast, Negro Please Radio, that I do that comes out every Friday on iTunes, Spotify. I also do another podcast called Host Battle with my buddy and fellow comic Winston Hodges that comes out every Monday. Nice. You can also catch it on Spotify. And I have one more live show I do with my sister every Tuesday night, tonight, 8:00. It's live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and it's about religion. It's called Do You Believe? And we sit down and we talk to people about their religious journey, either in and out of faith, and from just different religious backgrounds and belief systems. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, plug my episode if you get a chance.
Yeah, Petey was on, man. We had a great time because there's a lot of people out there who experience a lot of like religious trauma, and it really affects a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize like how much like their religious background affects their personality, how they interact with people, how they see the world, and how we treat other people, and how we really see ourselves. Because a lot of people with religious guilt, we grew up just. Yeah, we grew up with a lot of religious guilt. We feel bad about ourselves, a lot of depression, you know, and just not feeling good enough. It's not good, man. It's not good if it goes unchecked.
Right.
But I'm off my soapbox again.
No, that's fantastic.
Cool.
That's
I'm gonna listen to that actually.
Yeah, please check it out. I'm looking for more comics to come on. So if you have a religious background that you would like to talk about, please. I'm looking for more people to talk to about
I'll
it.
do it, but I don't have. I mean, I don't have that cool of a. I think it'll be. I don't have like that. I don't have religious trauma that much. My dad had a lot, which is why I didn't grow up in that much religion.
Well, that's something to talk about. You know?
Yeah, my dad, you know, because my dad is Spanish, so it's like
probably a lot of Catholic guilt.
Yeah, well, he had to go to mass every single day.
Jesus, yeah. See, I was going three times a week as a kid, and I hated it for 18 years. I absolutely hated it, and it affected my relationship with my parents, with my family.
Yeah.
It wasn't good, you know. It affected me for a very, very long time, and our relationship suffered for it. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Hey, we appreciate having you, Chris. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, anytime.
And for those of you listening, we have a show on June 2nd. This episode will be out before that. You got to come check that out. It's my birthday. It's our countercurrent show. Chris was on our last one, but we bring a lot of comedians that we love. I did the lineup myself since it's my birthday. So I brought, Randolph Terrence, Andy Klein, Frankie French, a lot of really great
lineup.
Funny people, Nicole Alco, Jamie Bennedy, people who I like their comedy as well as their personalities. So you guys got to come check that out.
Absolutely. She turns 29.
That's right.
In taxes.
Yeah. That's it. My husband said that the other day.
Yeah, that's because I texted with him about that and said that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Reloaded my joke. What a cock.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, he was like, if you take out tax, you're 29.
That's funny.
Nice remix, Josh, if you're listening.
Take out the tax. That's funny.
Cool. Well, yeah, so we got that. I don't know, this won't air before tomorrow, but if you're listening, I hope you attended Todd Fleming's show with me and Josh Caderna and Abby Mello and Deacons and some others at the periodic table in Columbia, Maryland. It was fantastic. So
but is that Sean's show?
What's that?
The Maryland show, that's Sean's show?
Yeah.
Oh, he asked me to do it a while ago, but like everything happened. So that is a good show?
Yeah, supposedly. I mean, I've heard.
Oh, you haven't done it yet?
I haven't done it ever. It's Todd Fleming's joint. So,
I don't know. I know Sean Savoy has one too in Columbia.
Oh, Nottingham's. That's Sean. I was thinking you meant Sean Lever.
Savoy.
Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that one as well too. Yeah, that's good. If they pack it out, it's fun. I mean,
I gotta hit him up because he told me to hit him up a while ago, but it's been, over a year because everything happened. So I have to hit him up.
Yeah, he has a lot of shows there. That's like his home.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I'm gonna hit him up,
I'm
man.
gonna hit him up too, actually.
Yeah, I need to get on there. I need some reps, man. I gotta write the new hour.
Yeah, that's a odd feeling.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. Well, we will see each other all again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I should be up there soon, man. Hopefully, like everything open. What was it? June 11th for everything open back up?
Yeah, everything 100% capacity. June 11th, it says.
Yeah, so hopefully Sean, our buddy Sean, can get his venues up again. We got, some other producers, so hopefully we can start seeing each other on a weekly basis, man. I miss everybody. I miss comedy, and I miss the people, and I'm ready to get back out there, man.
Yeah, same.
Do it.
All right, brother. I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you, Pete, for having me, man. Pete.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Peace.
Bye, everybody.